guys!
Welcome to the Zulunation family, where we do dogs and cakes and life. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button, notification button. Our information, our details are at the bottom. Zulunation's family, our Facebook, our Instagram. Anything you need, we got it.
Our website is Zulunations.com. That's Zulunations.com. Like she said, we speak life, we speak prosperity, we speak health, we speak building, and we're just having fun. We go on our adventures. So just check us out. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. It's Zulunation, baby. It's what?
Zulunation, baby.
And we are the Zulunation family.
Hey guys, so we just woke up, getting ready to go to Bisbee. We're gonna go, I don't remember how many feet, but we're going down to coal mines. And then at night we'll do another ghost tour, and then we'll walk around Tombstone.
Do I need a jacket?
I don't know, I'm bringing it.
What? You didn't tell me.
No, take it off. It's hot right now.
You didn't tell me I need to bring a jacket.
These jackets for everybody.
What jacket?
Take off your
Do I have
jacket.
a choice on what jacket I want? Take off the jacket.
No, it's 100 degrees right now.
Dude, take off the jacket.
Degrees. Did you brush your teeth? Please go brush your teeth.
This is why we're gonna be late.
Yeah, it is why we're gonna be late.
Do extra stuff.
Go brush your teeth.
Nico, go brush your teeth, please.
You waiting for me? We're waiting for everybody.
Hurry up, Nico. Run. Run.
He didn't even scream at you. What are you talking about? He didn't do nothing. Give me the camera. Give me the camera. Camera.
Like everything.
So what did Tina fix, Mom?
TV.
They said he's a genius. He fixes TV.
He's smart.
Listen, my mom's positive, but that man is very smart. You ready, Megan?
That's my guy over there.
Nico, you ready?
Yeah.
That's my baby over there.
Yep. See, we got my mom. Say hi to the people, Mom. You feel me? We're about to go on this trip. It's gonna be a long trip.
Let's go.
3 hours. We're gonna leave on time for the first time. Is that breaking history? Megan got her bougie glasses, putting her feet on the car. This is a SUV, but look how small it is. This car's small, huh? Tina, you ready? Are you charging your phone? You're gonna be feet out on the phone. Why do you need your phone? We're about to go though. Let's go. This is the beginning of the trip.
Okay, 1 hour from destination. I keep falling asleep. I fall asleep in the car. See when we get there. We're at a gas station right now.
I thought my mom would want these shoes, Mom. I thought you would like these. Look.
You want this hat for Tuesday?
I thought you would like this. You don't want this?
I don't.
It's 25 for 2.
Oh, I don't fit well with the flat shoe like that.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, get one. You see, they got sandals.
No, we
You don't want it?
It's okay.
We don't want to do something. I need some water though.
I got me and Megan stuff. I didn't know you wanted some more.
What about me?
I didn't know you wanted some more.
I have my. And I'm opening my wallet.
No, I'm saying, how many do you have?
I think it's 3.
Look, guys, she litters. Look. Okay, did you give her? Give her the mango. That's good.
$60.
What the rose we want, Dad?
What are you looking at? Nico, do you want the rose?
What Dad?
She said she wants it. Well, she's been asking. She wants the rose, right, Nico? For us to get there on time, we gotta go.
I'm ready.
She wants the rose, Mom. Don't you like these old records and stuff?
I'm tired. Get that turtle.
We could pick that, but
The Richard, I get turtle.
Get the rose. She's getting the rose. There you go, man.
We have no kids.
When you have kids, God. Look at the bikers. Huh?
This is where jeeps are needed.
Yeah, true. It's a part of Arizona I've never seen before here. It seems dry. Like if you got lost out here, you'd die.
You die from the heat.
Yeah, the heat gets you.
See, maybe all those people crossing the border, this is what they have to go through.
Yeah, I'd recommend digging a hole under a tree, and that's the best way.
But how long are you going to stay in there?
I mean, if you get lost until they find you, you know what I mean? Like most people will be stupid enough to try to walk. I mean, walk into the city, that's not that bad. You can get out there. But if you see nothing, you dig a hole under a tree. Because when it's hot, that means you notice animals dig.
Right.
Yeah, this was built in 1958. The old. You're here, right?
No, we have another fight night.
Entering Bisbee.
People chill out.
Take the exit toward Old Bisbee Historic District.
Mom, come on. Hold my hat. Hold my hat.
Hey, dude, you can't take pictures. You ain't got to become a parole officer. Don't know where I'm at.
He's funny though. He's funny though. I'm just recording a family trip. Tino, come on. We're gonna go. Die. Look. Look at the rocks. Look at the rocks.
You're on mine. Right down here, sir. Man. Come on here, young. Come on down. Right here. Come on down. Let me get you. Right here, you guys. Come on. Hey. You guys, come on.
Keep going. They said we could put it up there. Are you scared? Nico's scared.
Doesn't it remind you, Santiago, when we got under in that shack place?
Oh yeah.
Submarine. I miss that.
Hey, I was claustrophobic in that submarine.
Really?
Yes.
I was afraid.
After my accident now, when I even went to the what was it? Where we went, babe? Me and you to Texas. Yeah, what was it called? Six Flags, Mom. I was dying out there.
What were they doing?
No, because it was claustrophobic.
For over 45 years. So, some critical aspects of being safe. Do not reach under the train. These are railroad cars. These are the ones the miners rode in here in the 1920s. That motor back there is from 1926. So, it's very unforgiving. So don't reach under there. Mr. Render is trained to look at the track and look for things that might fall, like hats, lights, or even wallets. Okay? If he finds wallets, though, there's a very low retrieval rate on those, because he does have warrants out for him. So please don't take any photos of him.
I already did.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Okay, but you can't take any photos that you so wish. There's no copyrights or anything of that nature. Also, as we go inside this mountain, we're going to stop. We're going to go in about 100 feet, then we're going to stop and let your eyes open to the dark. Okay, make sure that everybody is comfy and cozy back there. So we're going to go inside the mountain, but then we're going to stop, and we're going to hear a little bit of background, and then we're going to go back 1,500 feet into the mountain, not down, that's into the mountain. So with all that being said, these ore cars, or these man cars are 100 years old. They're like me. I'm almost 100 years old. And they're eccentric. That means that they're clunky, funky, quirky, jerky. So when I get ready to take off, I'm going to ring the bell. The miners didn't have walkie-talkies or telephones. They communicated with bells. You're going to find out more about that. Just like that. When you hear that bell, it means I'm going to be taken off. That doesn't mean tense up and clench your teeth. That means relax. Okay? Everybody ready to go underground?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go. Here we go. It does that. I can't help
What was that?
Okay, prior to the COVID, our tour was 55 minutes. Now with the new guidelines from the governor's office, our tour is 3 minutes and 39 seconds. So I hope you liked it. Did you enjoy the tour?
Yes, sir.
So I encourage you to come back and bring your friends. No, there's a lot more tour to come. we're very fortunate because we're very much at the ground zero of all mining that took place in Bisbee over 97 years. The miners didn't dig tunnels, they drove them. They drove 2,300 miles of track and tunnel here in the Warren Mining District. You're going to find out more about that. And if you took that 2,300 miles of track and tunnel and laid it end to end, it would stretch from Bisbee, Arizona to Washington, D.C. And for a lot of reasons and you know what they are, for a lot of reasons I can promise you that you're much better off in Bisbee, Arizona than you could ever possibly be in Washington, D.C.
Amen.
Amen. As you look ahead here, you're going to see a red light. That is an incline shaft. That's a tunnel that goes off to the left-hand side, and it is at a 45-degree angle, which is very unusual. Most tunnels were not driven at an angle. That was covered up for almost 100 years, and we opened it up when the COVID started because we couldn't give tours. So that's a new part of our tour. You look down there, you can see ladders and landings, and you see a special kind of ore car called a skip. It was lowered and pulled up with cables. It would come up, it would dump, and then it would go underneath the track on the cable and would go back and be reloaded. So we're going to see a lot of interesting mining facts, and you're going to learn some new mining vocabulary. As we go back here, I'm going to stop the train, and that's to open up air doors. There's air doors because there's a 50 horsepower fan that's moving air around inside here. And that's to keep everybody healthy and happy. And it's more for Mr. Render and me because we come down here 5 times a day. But you're in good shape with coming down here only 55 minutes. With all that being said, is everybody comfy, cozy, relaxed, absolutely in a perfect state of mind? Is everybody ready to go underground?
Yes, sir.
Give me a big yo if you're ready to go.
Yo!
Let's go. Your seats, I'm going to open up the air quality door. Destination is that green light that's far down at the end of the tunnel. As we make our way down there, you're going to see some steps going up to a place called the Stope. And then you're also going to see on the left-hand side a motel called the Shift Boss's office. And the Shift Bosses were very important guys. Not only did they keep track of the bonuses for the miners, but they also did all the sampling for all the old, so they knew where to drill next. So we're going to find out more about that as we go on down. So let's keep on going. follow me down to the entrance of this tunnel. So as I come by, you can hop off the train to your left-hand side and meet me at the entrance of this tunnel. So hop off the train, meet me here. Haven't had to use it for the last 45 years. Haven't had to use it for the last 1 million visitors. Of course, that doesn't mean that I can't get us lost here today somehow. If I get us lost, don't worry. Mr. Redder knows the way out. I only got lost a couple times.
Drop breadcrumbs falling down.
That's right, yeah, that works. So, we're going to go back here and I'm going to put you against that right wall. So as you go down, you're going to hug that wall and follow me down and watch your footing because there are tracks that stick up. So I'm going to go down here, I'm going to be on the left-hand side, you're going to be on the right. Let's go.
Stay together. You scared? Tina, Nico, calm down. Go.
Scared, okay?
Scared of what?
I've never been on the
I got a
ground.
new Pokemon now, you guys. Did I tell you that?
When I was a kid, this would be an adventure, Nico.
Get again it. Get again that wall. Watch your head. And those West Virginia uncles, they said wash, and they said blanch. But they also said again it. So here, we came down this tunnel, it's called a crosscut tunnel, and there were 3 kinds of miners down here. Some of them were crosscut miners. So what the heck did they do? They were the guys that laid the track for the other miners. They also put in those water lines that are right there behind your knees. They also put down the electric. So the crosscut miners were very skilled guys. They were very important. They also made a lot of money because they were charged with laying 10 feet of track on their shift. But if they, for every foot they laid above that, they got a bonus of $100 per man. So they were very motivated to work hard. Same thing with the tonnage miners or stope miners. They got paid bonuses. They moved so much rock per shift. If they moved an extra ton, they got paid $10 a shift, or $10 a ton rather. And the shift's bosses kept track of all that work, and they made sure that those men got those bonuses. A lot of the miners liked working in the Copper Queen mine and in Bisbee because there was a bonus structure. There were also some miners called raised miners. You're going to find out about them. You say, miners, okay. What did they come down here to do? Well, they came down here to break ground. You say, what's that mean? That means this brown and gray rock. I saw your lights flashing around as we were driving down here. That's that gray and brown rock. That's what they had to knock loose. And they broke it up into chunks like this. And they broke it up into 4 to 5 to 6 inch chunks, and they put it in those ore cars. And then they took that ore out. They called that ore muck. You and I wouldn't call it that, but those rocks broken up in that size, that's called muck. You and I, when we talk about muck, we think about some gooey mud underneath our foot, not to the miners. These rocks were muck, and they loaded these ore cars up with that and put it on these tracks and took it out to the front door. Those crosscut miners that came down here and laid this track, they made it possible for one man to push that ore car out to the front door. Say, how the heck did they do that? Well, in the early days, they had young men called trammers or swampers, and they could push an ore car like this onto the front door. And you're asking the question, that looks heavy. It is heavy, but those crosscut miners, when they laid this track, they brought something with them called a plumb bob. That meant they put a 2% grade on this track. So the lowest part of the track is the front door, because every foot they went further back, they kept that 2%. And so a man could push this ore car out to the front door, believe it or not. They in 1904 they brought mules down here, and they were very good to the mules. The mules got a hour for lunch. The miners got 20 minutes. If a miner was caught stealing oats from the mule, the miner got fired, because it was tougher to train a mule and replace them than it was to replace a miner. And the mules were trained by guys called mule skinners. They didn't skin the mules. They trained them, and they took very, very good care of them. They pampered them. They trained them up on the surface, and they brought them down here, and they hooked them up to these ore cars, and they trained them to pull 4 of these ore cars. And the mules were hybrids of horses and donkeys. So they had some of the smarts of some horses, and they had the brute strength of a donkey. And so they could pull these 4 cars with great ease. So they brought them down, and they had them work down here, and they knew what 4 cars were. So they listened for these chains to snap. They would hook 4 cars up to those mules, and the mules knew because they could hear the chain snap every time the cars got taut between each other. So they hear those chains snap. 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars. And then the miners, they were looking for those bonuses. Remember I told you that? They got bonuses for tonnage. So they tried to sneak a 5th car out onto those mules. So they'd hook up these chains to a 5th car. So that mule would hear that 5th car chain snap. What do you think that mule did when he heard that chain snap?
Sit down.
Stopped. They would not move. Some of them sat down, but they knew they were only supposed to pull 4. And some people say that was the first underground union, that they knew that they were supposed to pull, so they pulled 4 cars. The mules were not left down here to die or go blind. They took really good care of them. When they started to get old and their eyes started to suffer, if you want to take your light and hold it against your tummy, I can show you how much light they had down here. If you want to take your light and hold it against your tummy, this is the way I test to see who's listening. If you want to take your light and hold it against your tummy,
On your light.
this is how much light they had. They had candles. Each miner was given 3 candles per shift, and they were smokeless candles, so they're very special for down here. And this is the amount of light that those mules had. So if you want to take and expose your lights again, the mules had that much light, so their eyes would suffer. They would take them back up to the surface, though, after they worked down here for about 3 years. They kept them very healthy. They kept them out of the water ditch, and there was a water ditch that ran right where you're standing, because it was wet down here. It's not so much wet down here now because of the drought that Arizona's in. But they kept those mules very healthy. They had round-the-clock veterinary care, and they were taken very, very good care of. When they got retired out, they had a much better retirement system than the miners. They took them up to a barn, and they covered the doors and windows of that barn with tarps. And so they slowly pulled the tarps back and exposed the mules' eyes to sunlight, and so they regained, their pupils regained that dilation property, and so they gave those mules away. When they got done with them, after the eyes were rehabilitated, they gave them away to the townsfolk, and the townsfolk used them to plow, to pull milk carts, to do whatever they needed, and those mules got free veterinary care for life, and they got and they got free food for life, paid for by the mine. So the mine was very good to those mules. About 1931, they got rid of the mules, and they needed to move more ore, so they brought down units called trolleys. And some of you know what trolleys are because you've seen trolleys. In my old hometown, we had things called trolley buses, and they had big apparatus on the top, and they connected to an electric line. So the trolleys down here were bigger than these ore cars. They were like those motors that we rode in on, and they were about 3 times the size. There's one out there by the chain link fence, if you want to see it, and it's about 3 times bigger than that motor, and it has the number 46 welded into it. But in the 1920s, they brought those trolleys down here, and this is how they powered them. There's 220 volts DC power in that electric line, and the trolley had an arm that went out there and grabbed it, and we pulled 10 of these ore cars down this track, going about 25 miles an hour. So it's very, very powerful. If you notice on that man car that you rode in on, the one with the yellow seat in the middle, there's a board down the middle, a 1x6 or a 2x4, whatever, and that was put there so that because they didn't want the miners riding on that man car to stand up, because if you stood up, you might come into contact with that electric line. You notice it has no insulation on it. Okay? So if a miner stood up and came in contact with that, there could be a problem. And some of them did. These chutes here went to the levels above. They followed the ore wherever it went, and so when they found ore up above here, they just kept on digging. Wherever the ore was, they followed it. And so to get the ore down here, this is at ground level. You noticed that already, because that's how we got in. But there were levels above us. Up above us, we're at level 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are up above us. Down below us are 1 and 2. And these ore chutes connected to 4, 5, 6, and 7. They would pull this lever down, and they drop that ore into these ore cars, and that trolley could pull that ore out. but this was a recipe for disaster for these little bikes. These were the shift bosses' bikes. The shift bosses had to visit their crews, and they complained that they had to walk. They said, man, we're walking like 15 miles a day. Woo, we're tired. So the company said, let's work on getting you some transportation. And the shift bosses said, great, because they thought they were going to get a little motor like brought us in. They gave them transportation, but they gave them this. And they made these bikes here in this mine. They don't have brakes. They are chain driven, but they didn't bother to put brakes on them because the blacksmiths that made them, they couldn't make the wheels. Those came from the foundry. But the blacksmiths that made them didn't have the know-how to put brakes on them. So they rode around on these and they visited their crews, but the miners didn't like them because the miners said, we gotta walk. How can you get a bike? So they put little ribbons on the handlebars, little tassels, and they made fun of it. But they had to get rid of these once those trolleys started running down these tracks, sharing the tracks with this bike. That was a recipe for disaster. So it was an experiment that went totally wrong, and they got rid of these bicycles now. They didn't last very long. As you can see this seat here, some of you remember those seats. That's the kind of seat that I wanted on my bike when I was 12 years old. And that's called what? Do you remember what it's called? The banana seat, yeah. So they used this, they think this bike came out of the Dan mine, but it wasn't used here in the Copper Queen, because the Copper Queen wasn't that big. They used it immediately. As we look around here, we look at some ore. This is malachite. This is the stuff that came down here for this green and blue ore. This is what they were going to make into muck. And that's what they had to take to the smelter, melt it down, and make it into copper. And once they made it into copper, it turned into paychecks, because they could sell it for good money, and it turned into dividends for the stockholders. And the stockholders in the Phelps Dodge mine, they made millions of dollars in dividends. There's always some rock people in the ground, some mineral gold, and this particular kind of rock is called Bisbee ice, and it's calcite. And some of you know rocks, you say, wait a minute, calcite's white. Well, this is Bisbee ice because some of this malachite mixed with this rock and gave it that greenish, bluish tint. And that's considered kind of a rarity, and it's considered quite valuable, actually. So what questions do you have at this stage? Let's go on down here and learn about drilling. We're going to cross over in front of me here. You're going to cross over and get on this wall.
Down the right side.
We just crossed over from the Copper Queen mine into the Southwest mine. And we know that because of these doors. Those are considered fire doors. You say fire doors, that's kind of counterintuitive. You say they had fires underground? Yes. Some of the ore they found was pyrites. And some of you know what pyrites are? Like iron pyrite. Some of you who are rock people, what's iron pyrite? Fool's gold, yeah. So some of those pyrites, that pyrite word comes from the same word as pyrotechnics. Just last week you saw some pyrotechnics, didn't you? Some fireworks. So those rocks would smolder when that ore would smolder when it was exposed to air. So those pyrites did cause problems down here. So they put these fire doors in so they could put those fires out. They would cram wet rags into the edges and the corners and hope to smother those pyrites that were smoldering. This is a raised drill called a stoper, and these things are run by compressed air with huge compressors up on the surface. This was a drill that you use drilling above your head. Once again, they followed the ore wherever it went. If you had to go above your head, that's where you went. Wherever the ore was, you followed it. They brought these drills down in 1915. These things are fired. They have a piston in them, just like your car engine does. And this first one here, it drilled. The second one, it would hammer and drill. And those drill steels at the end there, they could drill holes into these walls here. This is calcium carbonate. If you put vinegar on this rock, it will bubble and fizz because it's limestone. I don't know if you did that in 7th grade, but we did. We had samples of limestone, we put it into vinegar and saw what it did. But the miners didn't call this a wall. They called this a rail. Why? They didn't call this the ceiling, they called this the back. And we think they did that because they all read their Bible and they knew about Jonah and the whale. This was the whale's rib, This was the way it was back. And these drills constantly were improved. These big ones here, these the columns and the screw jack apparatus, everything that holds them in place, that weighs like 300 pounds. They finally improved it after World War II, and they brought this down called a Gardner-Denver jackleg, and it weighed like 105 pounds. And one man could operate it, one man could carry it, one man could do all the installation with it, and he could drill like 130 holes in his ship. You say, why is holes important? Into this rib, they drilled their blast pattern, and it was a certain pattern of holes, and that's what they did. They drilled, blasted, and mucked, and mucking was carrying that muck out, and that's what they did. But with every technology, there's always some backstory that makes it kind of unusual and sometimes kind of dangerous. These drills could drill so many holes so fast that they drilled into that calcium carbonate, that limestone, and it made microscopic white dust, and the miners would inhale it. Some of you know about black lung disease, like in the coal mining business. Down here they had silicosis, which they got in the copper mining business. And they got that from the silica that was in that white dust. They would inhale it and make them sick. The miners were dying when they were 38 and 40 years old. So the company said, man, we gotta solve that problem. So they did something as simple as, this has a copper, it has a compressed air line in it, but they hooked up a water line to it. And they ran water down the middle of this drill, and they put a hole at the end of each one of those steels. And as they were drilling, they would pump water in there. And it cooled the steel, but it also saturated the dust. So the dust became mud. And mud didn't make you sick. Mud didn't mess up your lungs and kill you. So just something as simple as putting water in there saved a lot of miners' lives. Question at this point. At this stage of the game. I've learned something about human nature giving these tours, and that is that people would much rather hear about blowing things up than about drilling. So let's go down here and find out about blowing things up. Yay! Yeah. Okay, you want to put your lights up here? You're going to look at the blast pattern they used. And this is critical because the blast pattern kept it safe down here. You say, well, how did it work? Well, the blast pattern kept these timbers in place. They kept their timbers in place because it certainly did not want your timber to fall down. It certainly did not want the back to fall down. So, wow, how did you keep it safe? Well, you had this blast pattern. And they did this over years and over thousands of times. So they knew it worked. They started in the middle, and this was the 5-hole burn. They would drill this out, and each one of these holes that has a black cord in it, that's symbolic of a fuse. And they knew that the fuse would burn at 40 seconds a foot. So they would stuff that fuse in there with the blasting cap, and then they would, and for every hole that they wanted to go off, they would jam it full of dynamite using this loading stick, and they would cram that dynamite in there, put a blasting cap and a fuse. And there was a pattern to it. If you put your lights up here, you'll see what it is. You start around in the middle, that's what gives it the 5-hole burn name. This one in the middle, it has a fuse in it, and it was the shortest fuse. Then they drilled a concentric circle around this. And you can see it right here. You can see the concentric circle. Each one is a mistake. So they drilled another one here. So the concentric circle was around this, and they would set these fuses. They would light these fuses, and the way they control a synchronized sequence of blast is they cut the fuses to the right length they needed. Each piece of fuse started out at 12 feet in length. Then as they prepared their fuses for their blast, they would cut them to different lengths. But they gave themselves 6 minutes. I said 40 seconds a foot, right? So they gave themselves 6 minutes to walk away from this blast fuse. But when they got down to the critical point, this blast would go off in like an 8-second sequence. And it would go off, this would explode. It would make a hole 7 feet deep, 18 inches wide, and it would blast out all this material here. And it made a void, a cavity, what the miners called a cut hole. Then this would go off, and then this one would go off, because it was 2 inches longer. Then this one would go off. Why? Because it was 2 inches longer. And this one would go off. Why? Because it was 2 inches longer. And they knew how to light them because they had this item called a spinner board, and they put the shortest one in first. Then they put the concentric in next. Then they put this one. This is called the breast hole. They put that one in next. Then they put in the fuse for the skimmer, which is at the very top. And then the very last one they put in this splitter board was the ones here at the bottom. The ones here at the bottom, they are loaded with 100 sticks of dynamite. And when these went off, they would lift up this whole mass. So in an 8-second sequence, these would burn down. I knew I had 6 minutes to get away, so I would go up there, and my partner would go down there, and we'd light our fuses. And then they would go off, they'd go boom, and that would be an explosion. Then boom, that would be an implosion. It would blow into the weak place. Then boom, the breast holes would go off into the weak place. Then the skimmers, boom, into the weak place. Then the last thing would go off, like 7 seconds into the 8-second sequence. Boom! But it went off with a lot more force because it had 125 sticks of dynamite. Boom, 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 then kaboom! And it would lift all this up, lifters, we lift all this up, 40 tons of rock into those 4 to 5 inch chunks. Lift it up and dump it right there. And they know we do that because they did it hundreds of times, thousands of times. And so they knew how much explosive to use. They knew where to put those holes. And that's what I would do when I came down here for my shift. Back in the early days, they worked 10-hour shifts. My boss would tell me, say, John, you and your partner are working at the 93 crosscut. And you say, 93 crosscut? How do you know where that is? Well, every miner knew where the 93 crosscut was because every inch of this mine was mapped. I told you that already. So I would come down to the 93 crosscut, and when I got here, I would find a pile of muck. I would find that broken up rock. I'd shovel it up, put it in those old cars, take it out to that smelter. Then I would set to work doing my job, because I would muck, then I would drill, then I would blast. At the end of my 10-hour shift, that's when I did my blasting. I would actually leave the mine on the cage over here. I would leave the mine on the cage, or I would go out on my train, because there was an hour between shifts where the mine was empty. And it was empty because that dynamite would let off nitroglycerin gas that would give you a terrible headache. So, you came down, mucked out the pile that was left here by the opposite shift, drilled, blasted. The last thing you did was your blasting, then you get on the cage, and the opposite crew would come in, and they would muck out what you left for them. And that was the cycle. Yeah. So what questions do you have at this point?
Did you have many serious auxiliary cave-ins from this? Or
Actually, this rock, this limestone, this gray and brown rock, you got to force it down. That's why they use so much dynamite, 100 sticks of dynamite. In coal mining, the coal wants to come down all by itself. So in coal mining, you would have terrible accidents where you might have 20 or 30 men perish. The biggest cave-in they ever had in the Warren Mining District was 3 men were killed at once, because this rock does not want to give up. You got to force it down. So they were very careful, and especially once they had the Arizona Bureau of Mines and MOSHA and OSHA, things got much safer. But when we get to the stove, you're going to find out more about cave-ins. So let's move on back here and take a close look at some of the equipment back here. This elevator, we would call it an elevator, but the miners call it the cage. And the cage, every other mine in Bisbee, you rode the cage to get to your work site. This mine, because we're at ground level, we rode in on a train. But you can see when they came back here, they got on a cage to take us into those levels up above. 4, 5, 6, and 7 above us. So the cage was still needed. The cage was occupied by a man called the cager, and I would tell him that I needed the cage. And you say, well, how do you do that? Well, you had a bell system. Let me have this young gentleman. He's going to show us how this bell system works. He's going to grab a hold of that yellow rope with both hands, right straight below it, get down below it, right underneath it, and give it a yank. Okay. That's how I told the cager that I needed the cage. I would be down here in the 3rd level, and because you did such an excellent job, you get a bonus prize. It is called a genuine pickaxe pencil, And you get to take that with you. And these pencils are great because they can write in German, French, Italian, Latin. They're great pencils. And they had a signal system that they used, and it's still in effect today in the Arizona mines. There still is this same system, and every mine and every level has to have this same sign. Because if I'm here on the 3rd level and I need the cage, I ring 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The cage around here, he would hear it. But there's also a bell here, but there's also a bell here where the cager can hear it. Then there's also a bell up on the surface. There's a guy called the hoist engineer, and he has this, if you see the old pictures, there's like a house on top, and it would spool up that cable, and it would spool it down to raise and lower those cages. So I would tell him, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cager hears it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tells the hoist engineer. Then, oh, we need you. Come on over here and pull this rope. Okay, and he did such an excellent job. He gets a genuine pickaxe pencil. But the pickaxe fell off, but lucky for you, it's in my pocket. Where is it? Here it is. Oh, wait a minute. We have something better. We have, who lived down here 50 million years ago? Dinosaurs. So he gets a dinosaur, yeah. And you also get a pencil too, because you were second. I haven't. But the key here is that system of bells was used to communicate. That's how they did it. And they rang 7 bells whenever there was an accident. If somebody got hurt, they would ring that bell 7 times, and that told them, somebody's hurt, we need that cage at our level. And so 7 bells was a sign of a accident. It was a danger. It was a danger sign. And the cage is very vital for everything that went on down here. This ore car is called the Copper Queen rocker. You push away from yourself, then you let it drop, and it would empty out. So if I was going out here to the front door, and I use that trolley to pull my ore cars out, and I take it out, and I dump that in, it might go into another railroad car. If I was up on the upper surface, I would take this up there, and I drop it down, and I drop it down that transfer chute, and drop the ore down to this level where it goes out to the street level. Back here we have an item called a Finley. And the Finley is air powered by compressed air. I would flip this lever. These air compressors, they're huge compressors on the surface, managed by mechanics, and they would drop that bucket down. It would drop, it would wiggle, and then I'd push it back, and that bucket would come up here in front of my face and drop that ore right in here into this ore car. So it was a mucking machine. That's how in later days, I used this to muck out, not just shovels. And they could move a lot of rock. Those miners could make their bonuses. They could move a lot of tonnage with a machine like that thing. Let's look at the thing that my son remembers from this tour. He took this tour about 10 years ago. And I said, what do you remember about the tour? Long before I ever worked here, and he says, I remember the sanitation car. Okay? This is not a barbecue. It was brought down here because the miners were getting sick. They didn't want to be off their tools. They wanted those bonuses. They didn't want to get on that cage and ride up to the surface to go to the bathroom. So they were using kiloliter boxes. They would take old dynamite boxes, throw sand in them, and they used those to go to the bathroom. Not good. Because remember, they ate their lunches down here. So pestilence came into the mine. Pestilence, like hookworm. And so, there was a problem. So the company designed these. You can see they have 2 holes on them. I don't think 2 miners ever sat on here together and had any discussions because of who they were and how they lived. But the company said, well, it's better to have 2 holes so you don't have to wait. I guess that was their idea. But you can see this is old technology because it doesn't even have a weld in it. It's bolted together with a gasket in between these 2. So this is very definitely old technology. The company called them sanitation cars. The miners called them S cars. But the S did not stand for sanitation. My neighbor has one of these in his front yard. I don't know how much he paid for it, but his wife put flower pots in here. And the paper boy comes in the morning and he puts the newspaper right there. So, but I'm sure it cost a lot more money than I would ever want to pay. But when the mines closed here on June the 14th, 1975, the company left. They shut the pumps off and they left all the equipment down here because it was too expensive to try to take it out. So they just left it. And so there were some people that made a living by coming down here and salvaging this metal for scrap. So with this, we're going to go back to our train, and it's going to take us back to the surface. But we're first going to stop at the stove. So let's get back on our train and go to the stove.
Mom, nothing's falling off. Look at that. Show the picture of it.
Just anywhere you guys can get a seat. Crowd in there, crunch in. We're going up to the next stop.
They normally sell them around.
Yeah, they have it. Anywhere you guys can scrunch in and get close, you guys. I appreciate it. I showered this morning. I had it. Oh, thank God you can't smell it. All right, John, you're good, buddy. Benny, we'll see you up top.
Oh my gosh, go upstairs.
It's a lot of work, Eddie Sanders. You got this.
I don't know.
You
Yeah.
Sorry. Tina. Yeah. Claustrophobic, Megan.
What?
Claustrophobic. Go. Ooh, this is cool. Now this. Yeah. This is cool. Shh, my thighs are screaming.
Okay, this is the stove, S-T-O-P-E, and that's another mining term you learned today. And that's an excavated area. It's excavated by hand. This is not naturally occurring. This was drilled and blasted out using hand steels and black powder. So it took about 4 years
missing
to
her
get
food.
this all emptied out. At one time this was all solid rock. And they came down here in 1877. They were on the top of this mountain, and some Army scouts spotted some ore deposits. And they said, hey, let's take a look at this, because they know there's a lot of silver in Tombstone. Maybe there's some silver here too. So they started digging. They filed claims with the United States government, and they started digging. And they came down this way, and when they got down this far, they found a huge deposit of malachite. And I already showed you the malachite up there in that ore car. And you can see some, they left a little bit of it in the wall over here. You see that greenish bluish? That's that malachite. That particular malachite, when they found that in 1880, 1877, 1879, when they smelted that down, 100 pounds of that ore gave them 1 pound of copper. Unbelievably rich ore. They've never seen anything like that in the Americas. To its upper left, to my upper left, to that malachite, is a reddish brown ore called hematite. And some of you know doctors who are hematologists, so I'll let you guess why they call it hematite. When they melted that down, when they smelted it down, a ton of it gave them 1/8 of an ounce of gold. So they got copper, gold, also there's some black and silver in the middle of that deposit there. That's galena. Galena has silver, but it's also lead. By the time they got done, they found magnesium and zinc. And so this was a bonanza mine. They got great deposit, they got great dividends and great returns on excavating this ore. And so, if you look around here, you can see this brown and gray ore, this gray rock. That's that calcium carbonate I talked about, and it's very solid. You can see they left a pillar here to keep the back up, but sometimes they ran across rock that was loose and gravelly, so they would put up a structure like this called a square set. And if you look over here, you can see a diagram of what that looked like. they would put this up because the miners could work inside of it, and it kept them safe. You can see they could build it to contour to the face where they were working. Back there in the back, that's where they drilled their holes, and the miners worked right there in that cubicle, and it kept them safe. The beauty of these is in the corners. These can take a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and not collapse. They're actually made out of Douglas fir and Scotch pine, so that when they got under stress, they would bend and twist and crack, and they would actually make noises. And the miners could tell when the mountain was moving. And back in those days, the mountain did move because they had dynamite down here. It doesn't move that much today because there's no dynamite. Nobody's blasting down here. But when that would move, it would make noises, and the miners said, when the timber starts talking, the miner starts walking. People always ask about the number of deaths in the mine. The miners did have a hammer and stainless steel, and they would drill holes here in the face or in the rib here, and they would stack that full of black powder, and they blacked it in tar. And they did that. They started in mining. You always want to use gravity as your friend. They started up here, and then they went down here, and they drilled another tunnel, and they unloaded all that malachite out of here, and they took it down that tunnel and took it out to the smelter. People seem fascinated by this. That's my old partner. He wouldn't work very hard, so I stuck him up there. The boss likes him because he never complains about anything. No, actually, that's not a real person. That's a department store dummy. Those of you who remember the department store. And he represents a raised miner. He would drill above his head because they followed the ore wherever it went. He drilled above his head, and every piece of rock that he knocked loose hit him in the head. I already told you how those drills had water in them. So he was dropping rocks on himself, and he was getting rained on. That's a terrible, terrible job. This guy was paid $50 a day. By the time the mines closed, look out, it'll get you. By the time the mines closed, in 1975, the miners made an average of $45 a day. In 1890, when they were down here, they made $3 a day. So they worked a 10-hour shift. So that's, they were making some good money. Yeah, they were making some very good money. And I think they worked 5 days a week. In the early days, they worked 6 days. But then Dr. Douglas, the guy that organized the mine, he came in and he said the mines were not open on Sunday. Everybody will go to church. And he did that like in 1883. So it was very early in the game he did that. He also started the library, and he also started the Warren Ballpark to give the miners something to do. Because all they were doing was fighting and getting drunk and wasting away all their money. He said they needed something else to do. So by the time the place closed, the miners were making good money at $45 a day. And if you think about in 1890, a cowboy on the surface, he made $30 a month. In 10 hours, a miner could make $30 a day. So that was very good money. And the miners made a good life and a good living. Bisbee was considered a boom town. They had 3 opera houses. They had elevators. They had an electric trolley that ran up and down the main street. So it was quite a place. By the time they closed in 1975, they had been in business for 97 years down here, but the people didn't believe that they were actually going to close. They didn't believe them. So then the men came to work on June the 14th, Flag Day, by the way, came to work on June the 14th, and they said, everybody go home, and we'll tell you what's going to happen next. So the miners went back home, and the company shut off the pumps and flooded the mines. And they gave every miner a job who wanted one. You could work in Ajo, you could work in Morenci, you could work in any mine where there was an opening for you. And every miner who was working here got a job working for Phelps Dodge. And then of course it became Freeport McMoran. Freeport Minerals now owns this mine. They lease it out to the city of Bisbee for $100 a year. And so some of the old coops like can come in here like me and talk about the history here, but you also get to see it firsthand. This is the real deal. This is not designed as a toy. This is a real mine. This is the authentic thing. So there's no paper mache in here. There's nothing that was designed. This is the way it was. And with that being said, I take off my hat to you. I say thank you for coming to see us, because you have something about yourself that you probably didn't realize. And that is that you are inquisitive. As an old high school history teacher, I spent lots of hours in lots of rooms with lots of people who were not inquisitive about anything. But a couple of days ago, someone came to you and they said, hey, can we take that line tour? And you said, yeah, I'll do that, because you're inquisitive. You want to know something today you didn't know yesterday. And that is a great characteristic to have. It's the cure for boredom. It's called curiosity. So I salute you for having it, and I hope you hang on to it. It'll take you a long way in this world. So thanks for coming to see us. Let's go out here and get back on our train. As you exit, you have to give your little red tags, or gold tags, whichever color they are. You have to give them back to Mr. Render. So let's get back on our train and go back to the real world.
Here's the other quarter. Follow, no, that's where you put the pin. Quarter. Quarter. There you go, push it in.
Push it in first.
No, push in that thing, yeah. Push. Okay, now spin it. Use both hands. What? Move, Tino.
Sorry.
Your wallet? Good job.
See?
What is it? Let's see it.
There you go. It says Bisbee, Arizona. Let me see yours too. See? Yours looks more clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget your dinosaurs.
That was fun.
You were scared. You thought you were gonna die. So now what are we doing, babe?
Go to town, find food, walk around, and then we at Tombstone by 1. So
Oh, we have to be there at 1?
There's a gun show at
What
1.
time does it start?
1 or 3 o'clock.
No, I'm saying the tours.
No, it's you just do your own thing, and then there's a gun show.
Oh, okay.
Remember that part where we kill each other?
Oh. What?
This track.
Yeah, Mom. I'm gonna get my truck sooner or later.
It's beautiful. I know that one.
Here, babe. That's what's my last one. So we're eating and then going to Tombstone? Where's there to eat?
And then this is where we come back for the haunted tour.
Oh, so we have to come back here tonight for the haunted tour?
It's at 9. No, 7.
Did you pay for it?
Yeah.
Oh, Mom. Yeah, we're gonna have a haunted tour.
I want to go there.
I'm going to play here.
I want to go there for me. Think it's a bad idea?
It's on you. Where do I go?
Anywhere. Check it out.
This is where the miners chill.
It's in New Zealand there.
Oh, gosh.
There's a restaurant. A spirit room. Wanna come here?
Okay, let me find the parking spot.
Right there. Oh, I think you could have parked there.
Oh, the post office.
It's just a small town. Look here.
Oh, awesome, man. Sing the ladies. Oh, yeah. Look at this. They out here. Yeah, we should walk around here. Nah, we'll walk around on the tour.
I think it starts at 7. I need to check.
But then walking back here after we eat, that's a mission, huh? So park here? Because we have to be there at 1. It's 12 over 4.
I said there's one at 1 and 3.
I'm not trying to be here till 3. Oh, it's time.
You wanna what?
Same. You're not gonna be here till 3. What am I gonna do?
I said we have to get to 3. We eat, drive over to Tombstone, walk around Tombstone. Yeah. thought these make you calm.
You know what, man? Don't get murdered out here.
Do we have daily gas?
It's halfway, yeah.
Yeah, what's good guess?
3 generations of family. My grandfather, he's not laid to rest here either. He's in Pittsburgh. He worked in 2 of the smelters in Douglas that are now leveled for Dodge Phelps. So I saw this mine go out of operation. Yes, I look rather young. Well, that's because I do a lot of things. I'm 48 this year, June 12th, so definitely I saw that mine go out of operation in the 80s, sucking on my fingers with giant earth-moving trucks beside our car. Wow. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. That's a little bit. You know, I got to give you the history of Bisbee. You know, they often go, are you from here? Not exactly, but I have a lot of ancestors and family who came through here. Well, kind of, to a degree. I am. But welcome. Welcome to the monsoon season as well. Right now you got quiet, man. I'm so used to talking. Love your hair. Yeah. See these? I've had these for 20-something years.
Wow. Wow.
Is that where you going?
Yes, my name is Damien. I'll be your Spectacular Ghost host for the evening, and yes, I met Damien. Rasta, you know.
Hey.
Okay, very cool. You look serious, man. You're scaring me, but it's okay. I'm used to being under pressure. So, before I begin, though, it is monsoon season, so that's why I'm deliberately carrying umbrellas. You'll have to pair up under seats. There's not enough for each individual one, but that's part of the things we do here in the Boot Crew. We go rain, sleet, or snow. Ow. I'm somewhat new to the Boot Crew, but I lived in Colorado, so I can handle the snow. The wetness, I'm glad it's not the swell that we just had, because that was very serious, and there was hail happening.
Yeah, it was.
Not sure y'all would have been in there. And Renee would have been like, did you do the tour? I'm like, these people left. Which happens. It does happen. You can also get a reimbursement if it's like crazy, you know. If there's thunder and lightning and it's big, you know, rivers coming down the road, I'm going to be scared. Okay? With that being said, some of this stuff is slick now because it's wet. Gravel has been washed in some of the areas that we will be walking on. So please have the illumination. Well, not this. I mean, if this were a requirement, I'd have to, you can't be on the tour unless you have a window. But please have your cell phones, lights, little flashlights. This thing does pretty good. I have definitely hopped it up into modern diamonds. This puffs up. I really like it, solar light. So it illuminates the way, but most people depend on me. I had an entire group in the dark alley the other night, and I looked behind me and no one had the lights on because they disappeared. I was like, no. So please let's be safe. You can trip over things in broad daylight. You'll be walking over stuff like that. Stairs, stairs, and more stairs. So prepare. Right? When we cross the streets, we will be together. People are coming in and out of town doing this. I'm sure y'all did it. I'm guilty of it still. So I'll do my best to pay attention, especially with the little ones when we cross us together. These sidewalks are narrow. To hear the stories, some of y'all can be on this side, some on this side. Please, let's do that. Every time I say that, people go one way. And I'm just like, come. Some here, some here. Because the sidewalks are narrow, I do not need y'all standing in the street. And it's not the place to be. Not right now. So, if you partake in cigarettes, vape, step away from the group, come back and rejoin us. Okay? We have pub crawl. That will be for the adults. I'm going to get trained for this soon. It's going to be a blast. So just duck in real quick into the bar and come back and rejoin us. You're adults. You can do what you want, but I need your attention and not you going, "Ow, where goes that, man?" Okay, so with that being said, let's have a spectacular evening. I do know history, pretty much into that. So this the creator of this, Renee. She's an awesome woman. She's written books. I'll point those out. I'm a storyteller, so I answer your questions to the best of my ability. Is this costume? No, I dress this way. Cowboys in effect. You know, the white ones were dudes. That's why you had dude ranches. We were cowboys and rancheros along with that. So, modern day black cowboy. Yes, it is. This museum, awesome. First headquarters of Dodge Phelps. Mine, right here, the prominency of that thing
prominency of the city. Yeah, city. You're not just in a town, you're in a historical city. 1880 when, well, not just because this was Apache territory first, I have Apache roots in me and my great granny, correctly. With that being said, they were the first ones, not mining, but discovered what was there right to them. Bisbee blue, copper deposits, you know, so then prospectors became interested in that. Then miners came and dug, and the investors came. Rome was not built in a day, nor was Bisbee. When that happened, well, Lowell was set up over there. Lowell is now shifted. Can you believe they hand moved most of that town? So Lowell's over there, and then they began to dig that. And when they discovered more and more calcite, malachite, Bisbee blue, copper, Union Pacific setup shop coming this way, they were in Benson. That train is very, very important too at mine. So it also goes into Mexico and their mines. Yes, lots of money, lots of investors, merchants, entertainment. This was an entertainment over at one point. Well, I got to tell you something. Population at one point was 9,000, then it went into 10,000, and at one point was definitely into 20,000. Citizens here, that's not a village, it's not a town, it is a city. One of the largest cities between St. Louis and San Francisco at the time. Bisbee is a human being. I told you I know some things. I didn't research that. This is a lovely place. I'm a nerd. I used to spend time, I'd skateboard and go to a museum. So, yes, Jesuit Bisbee never set foot in this town. He died in San Francisco. That's where he resided his days with his family. It said in 2000 around sometime, family took a pilgrimage here for the first time. He was making a lot of money off that money. So, yeah. 24-hour trolley service. I'll tell you about that too. Where the tracks were, please pay attention to the pictures in your hotels, the bars. They tell the history. You'll see the pyramids. Like China, you barely walk through. Ladies of the night. Yes, please don't frown down upon that. These ladies made a profit with. Historically, there were several brothels. Chinese brothel, Mexican. There was even a black brothel. Lawlessness, y'all. Lots of lawlessness. Lots of gunfights. Someone was talking about the Rome. They've been doing it. There's a whole bunch of ghost towns I'm going to hit you to. Rome is one of the bloodiest towns in history and in the United States. There's another one in Colorado. Please understand that happened here. And lawlessness just isn't dealing with. You had corrupt minds. You had businesses. You had corrupt provinces. So, yes. Lots of those stories to tell, and we got that stuff going on here. What you think? Okay. 24-hour trial. We're even going to go down Subway Street. Yes, it is. Subway was there. Entrance over here where all that water is swelling into, and you will get in trouble if you enter that entrance. There was a tram going directly to the mines, and this subway system here. I'll point that out later. I'm gonna hang on to these umbrellas because it might get a little damp along the way. Me? Think y'all ready for some ghost stories? I'm ready to tell you. I tend to go on tangents. I try to calm it down. At least I'm saying something. You all right? Oh, take pictures, please. When you go to our website, type in Spooktacular with a capital S. There are very many pictures that I'm going to be bringing up as references. And have your cameras ready because a lot of things have been posted in recent times that have been happening on our tours, especially mine. Have a little bit of shine to them, attract attention that way, right? That's a real thing. That's why I love these ghost tours. So this way.
You guys go. Oh, yeah. Go, Crystal.
Oh my god, are you kidding? Can you come on?
Go.
God.
You should wait for their permission to register. Yeah, they German classic scene. You ain't gonna believe nothing I say, but come on. Yes. Poe is a good friend of mine, or he is a friend, artist that I admire. I'm an artist myself. He's a cartoonist and a sculptor. Yeah, he did those. Pointing out the epidemic of fly breakout during the time here. Can you imagine how much water deposit there was? Wasn't proper sewage, y'all, and the gulch there, the historic Ruby Gulch, definitely filled up with lots of water, flies and a whole lot of things, and $10 fly spotting contests. A lot of money at that time to see people come in the drugs. So he's spoken, fun and some history, all right? We're gonna pass the lyric being, say entertainment mode. Trouble Cat. People came in on purpose. Also, Paramount Theater is where that wedge of the park is, or used to be there, when you go into the brewery's gulch. Several theaters. Even an opera house. Opera ad, and that opera house is no longer here. A little faster.
You can pick up your blanket.
It is registered with the flag as you walk up that way, Copper Queen, if anyone's standing there or staying there. Yep, it's definitely Copper Queen. See, I researched that. Well, also I have a friend who's a nurse. Comes from a family of nurses, and she let me know. My mother worked there. 24-hour child service. I showed you the entrance way down that way. It used to be walk-in of all. There are glass inlays in that sidewalk there because they're the skylight to the subway system that once was. There's benches supposedly still down there. I'm sure because it's historically relevant. There's a woman who stood here. You can Google it. Hamilton stage about this high, talking to thousands of men. Yeah, more populace of men. Yeah, women's right to vote in Bisbee, yo. Or they were part of it. You know what I mean? That's okay. I like that. Let's go this. Take a pit stop here. The more I ask questions and the more I've gotten more into this community. We're family here. I'm definitely friends with a lot of artists, musicians, things like that. And then their legacies come from time. I know someone who's Randy was a librarian here for years, 1882. Library comes up. So many things are coming up. Western Bank, registered in 1902. And it's still in function. It's one of the oldest banks in function in this territory. That post office there, awesome. I started looking at the windows more and it just looks really like used to house people. And sure enough, someone revealed to me that it was Bisbee's first jail. It's been post office for a long time now. Right. Look at this beautiful view of the streets and things. Love it because it's not too dark and you can see some of the levels up there. Look like water runoffs on the hill. No, those are mining quarters. Dodge Phelps, quote unquote, treated their miners okay. We'll get into that later. No, they did not. They only had the higher ground. Extra miners had the lower, tiny, pretty much at the bottom. He had in the outhouse skill lofts. And that's real talk. The ghost wasn't always pretty. Was not. So, 24-hour trolley. Bars never closing. Mine never closed. Harsh conditions. And the streets were alive. Lots of people, lots of merchants, lots of merchandise. Ladies of the night. Probably coming right down this way. All the T4 is starting to happen. Y'all got to look at those ones on too. I do it all the time.
He said it's all true.
Hey, you all right. Now, two banks, yeah, well, that used to be a bank, the Minor and Merchants Antique Center. Yeah, it was a Minor and Merchants bank. Two of several banks in the town because there was a lot of money and a lot of things to be held, especially when we have people coming in and out frequently like investors. Well, this one, out of commission. of my favorite people there. Owner of Redbone. Y'all need to go there. Oh shit. I shop there a lot. That's where this is from. Yep. This is from there. She gifted me this. I don't know if y'all know what that means, but I don't want to scare you. So, with that, there she goes into the wonderful abode that someone else used to own at one point. Gentleman came into Bisbee, really loved all the shops, couldn't get enough of it, and wanted to try his hand at having him a merchandise type store. So he set up shop there. Historically, it's registered, so I believe you have to keep the minor and merchants part. So I'm not really sure what he had a name for, because it wasn't necessarily antiques that he had in there, but it was other merchandise, you know, artistic and things. He set up a shop downstairs and put his office in the old bank vault. I don't know if anybody has any phobias. I do. And one of the places I can put my office in the bank vault. He's having the time of his life with this. Not really talking about what's happening in the store though. Like when he has to often come upstairs and rearrange things that are out of order. Bumps, creaks in the night, sounds of voices upstairs. And oh yeah, the old bait teller windows, they're still in it. They're still cool looking. It's only about 2 of them. Different times y'all didn't have like 5 or 6 people. They still don't have that many in the bank. Anyway, so one particular evening, the bumps and creaks, they take it up a notch in his store. Please don't think that ghosts come out at night, because they don't. They come out day too. One particular afternoon, he's closing up. He's getting pretty fed up, creepy downstairs, stuff messing with him. He's not telling him. Well, this incident happened to him. Closing up. Puts the close sign on the door, and those doors were not always latches. So he goes downstairs doing his books, getting ready to close up and settles down. When all of a sudden I'm closed. I'll ignore that. And go back. Well, it happens again. It just doesn't happen. It keeps happening. In rhythms. Annoyed? Yeah, he's got to go upstairs check it out. Okay, I'm obviously closed. Hello, I'm closed. What's going on here? And he approaches the door to unlock it. And he gets one more. Hey, you know I'm closed. What do you think he sees?
Nothing.
There's my phone. That's something. We're in a ghost tour. Nobody want to see a ghost? I do. Well, of course he saw me. Looks right on the door. Looks around. Street's pretty bare. Locks it up. Looks at the door and makes sure. So he goes back downstairs. Close up. What's that? What's going on? He thinks somebody's messing. Sits down to close up. When all of a sudden, sounds like the door is open. This time, sounds of feet. All on the floor. Muffled voices he can't make sense of. Everybody said it was a bank, right? So anyway, oh yeah, he's scared. Nothing to defend himself. Brave. All right, hey, what's going on here? That's where I have to stop. You know why? Because he moved up the way. Not too far from here in a week. I think we had enough of what happened to him in that store. You think he knew how one goes? I'm very fast. But we'll pick up on him in just a few minutes. Because there's more to talk about him. And please take pictures. You know, I was on a tour. About 5 people in the tour. Someone took a nice picture of us and a reflection was in there. How come there was 2 more people in the picture? Go this way. Good friends of mine play there. It's open rather late and the kitchen is up. I'm advertising them. I want to tell you about the ghosts and the tragedy that struck this hotel and most of Bisbee in 1908. In 1908, Bisbee caught fire. Water has definitely harmed Bisbee. washed away entire houses before they got foundations correct and whatnot. But fire struck, and it burned from Castle Rock, where you pass, coming on down this way, past the firehouse, on down into the Gulch, which was most of Bisbee City at the time. Why did it go up so quickly? Because Bisbee was mostly wood then, and so was its structure. So yeah, it almost burnt to cinder. So, Rick repaired Bisbee, because that mine was making a lot of money, and they needed it in operation. They needed their city and its prominency. With that being said, this is one of the first things to go back up, and it went back up in brick and mortar, just like the rest of the city. That's why it's still here now. A little bit smarter and wiser with that. They probably were going to do that, but when that tragedy hit, it's time to go. This came back up quickly because it was the prestigious Bisbee Grand Hotel before the Copper and several other hotels. So they needed it. Lots of investors coming in town. Can you believe presidents stayed in there as well? Not just the Copper owns that. It went dormant for several years after a while. You know, growth going into the 1900s, into the 1980s. Definitely dormant, but someone bought it. Wanted to bring it back to life during the 80s. They did just that. So in this refurbishment, it was closed off to the public. Or was it? Construction worker one late afternoon, going upstairs to do his duties for the rest of the evening. And he's encountered by a woman. It's closed off to the public, so what is she doing there? You know, it's the 80s. She's not dressed to the time at all. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry, what are you doing in here? You can't be in here. It's closed to the public. She ignores him, keeps walking, looks back, walks up the stairs, around the banister, and into a hotel room. Ma'am, I'm sorry, you can't be in here. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Excuse me? What do you think he sees when he gets in that hotel room?
Nothing.
What do you think? Well, what did he see when he went upstairs? But when he got in the room, of course, he saw nothing. But he saw something the first time. Well, that was enough to spook him out. He definitely asked his foreman and his co-workers, hey, you guys see anything? Yeah, maybe we saw something, you know. Gotta keep it manly there and keep working. But I'm sure their days were short. Now, a lot of people have been known to run up out in their PJs out of here. Hopefully they had the flip-flops on. There's a lot of places you can run up out of here. Dark alley, all sorts of things. This place, it has a presence. I've stayed in a red room in there 3 times. Last year, trying to figure out migrating from Tucson back this way. Yes, there's anything there. I've stayed in the Copper Queen. I have stayed in the Hotel Lenore as well. All of them aren't. That being said, you can coexist. People coexist with Jeremiah. Oh, who is he? He's a house-friendly ghost there. He loves the bar. I did say lawless times happen. Let's think about it. Jeremiah is said to have been in his gambling height here. One of the best gamblers maybe. Maybe he owed debts or something like that. Where there's a stage, there used to be a lounge and parlor area there. Also, pool table, stuff like that. The wall in where that woman's sitting, it wasn't there. Completely walked through. Yeah. So Jeremiah is said too, like I said, probably wasn't the best of gamblers, owed someone money, but he lost his life right here. With that being said, he's there. He's there all the time. Like to sit at the bar when it's closed and everything's pitch black and you see the silhouette of a gentleman sitting there. Mighty fine. Probably waiting for his drink. Jeremiah is verbal and physical. He doesn't want to hurt you, he just tends to do certain things, you know. Likes to mess with the male bartenders and tends to flirt with the female bartenders. Also, he hangs around the ladies' restroom. There's some stories.
Yeah, I do.
You know, the young man was closing up one evening, counting out his money, and I said that's a former lounge area. So he looks up. and he sees Jeremiah stand up from the lounge area, walk across the room where there was no wall there, walk down to the end of the bar, and proceeds to disappear into the former fireplace that was there.
You hear something?
You
I'm saying you hearing
no.
something?
About
No, I
you.
can't hear.
Oh, come closer, man.
Yes, that's why
Come
you should
closer.
be in front of me.
Sir, go right there,
That's
man.
why, yeah, I can't talk behind me. So, Jeremiah disappeared into this fireplace. You know this gentleman closing. I don't know if he came back, but I know if I did, I'd have at least all of y'all around me at all times when I close. There was another evening when the gentleman was closing. Jeremiah didn't mess with him. He didn't mess with him at all. Had a wonderful night, made all sorts of money, feeling very good. Locked up the door, getting ready to go home. I forgot something. So he goes back, unlocks the door, getting ready to go inside when he's greeted with, "We are closed." That's exactly what he did. Closed the door, locked up. I'm sure it'll take me a couple of steps back like me and go home. Jeremiah is both physical and verbal. That's how we know he's Jeremiah. He's told us. He's told Renee, my boss, when it goes to her. She has to go in there by herself. Her and her husband gonna go, son. I can't even touch some of the things they do. Like I said, she writes books. So yes, she does like ladies. You wanna hear that one? Oh yeah. Jeremiah, you kind of creepy. There was a lady bartender closing up one evening. She had a wonderful night too. Jeremiah didn't. He won't mess with you all the time, or will he? She had to go to the restroom. Nature calls. So she goes to the restroom. She steps in. The lights go out. She steps out. Why? Nothing wrong with the bulb, except for the fact the light switch is over by the bar. So she goes and checks it. It's on. Off, on, off, on. Oh, it works just fine. She's okay on the restroom. It's time to go home. So she's looking at the restroom, kind of shakes it off. Polishing glasses, getting ready to go home. And all of a sudden, she starts feeling on her shoulder a nice little feeling of fingertips. Well, I'm gonna answer this one for you. Yeah, she turns around and there's a mirror behind the bar. She only sees her own reflection. Ain't nobody there. She went, oh yeah, she went home after that. Massage. Yeah. Jeremiah probably coached her out of the bathroom just so y'all be okay if you go to the restroom. Doesn't mean to hurt you. He just wants to flirt with the ladies and mess with the male bartender and let you know it's his bar. Someone on our tour took a really cool picture, y'all. That's why I'm suggesting y'all go to the website and check out some of those pics. Because right there on the night where she's standing, someone got a nice little, seemed to be an apparition of smoke. We ain't got no smoke. We don't have any fog. It was not a smoky night. But people swear it's a lady. I told you about that lady up the stairs. Different types of hauntings there. That room is said to hold an Asiatic presence of a bride who lost her life too soon. She's very pretty. Known to be in red, white, and black. That room right there, that's the Oriental room. But I still mention her. Wild Hot Cheese. If you know anything about 5280 degree marker in Denver, I've lived there. We're at 5280 degrees here. But it does go high. This is where that gentleman ended up. Right here. I don't know. That's not that far away, is it? That's not that far at all. So do you think he can outrun ghosts? Yeah, I would have went way up the canyon. You know, just a little bit. He sets his shop up the same way. Puts all of his items up here like she has her beautiful merchandise. and puts himself right back downstairs. There's no bank vault this time though. It's pretty creepy down there. As soon as he moved in, his first week, things were not only getting displaced, they were going missing. Bumps and moans downstairs, you know that stuff. Yeah, a lot of that. Creaks, and he's feeling pretty cold down there. Doesn't like to spend too much time down there at all. How about in his store much? Because there's a sound of little feet sometimes. Looks like something's peeking around the corner at him. And genuinely, he's looking over his shoulder a lot. He is scared, bona fide scared, very scared. He didn't tell people what happened down there, but he sure did this time. Look, this is what happened to me down here. Why is this happening here? I love that. What is this place? So he asked his realtor and his neighbors. Realtor didn't speak up, but the neighbors did. And they said, you don't know. This is the formal Mitchell family mortuary. I like him. His office was down where? You know anything about the desert and the heat? I'm pretty sure colder down there. Within a week, less than a week, he packed up, moved to Las Vegas, and never returned to Bisbee again. Yeah, I think he had enough. You have to do research just a little bit.
Yeah.
Now this place has been through a lot of hands, including hers.
How long have they been here?
Spirit Days alive. You gotta listen, let me tell you. Yeah, it's been through a lot of hands. You see she's here, so a lot of people don't get spooked too much. There's nostalgia in things.
Yes.
You got Olinger's in Denver, Colorado, where I used to live. It was the city morgue. Now it is called Lingers. It is a 3-level restaurant and club. So things get repurposed that way. I know people who live in churches, a lot of things. Why Renee, my boss, her and her husband own 3 hearses. Renee's whole home is a nostalgic way of the macabre. She's very much so into what she's into. Not everyone is though. So artists came here. Artists came in right after that gentleman. The assistant was here more than not, and she was very spooked. Didn't want to go downstairs at all. Items up here, getting messed with all the time. She tells the owner, you need to stay with me one night. So she did. Both spooked. They were told what the place was. They moved out in less than a month. But the other 2 artists, they stayed longer. Barbara and Aviva. Aviva's very good friends with Renee, and we'll get to that in a minute. Barbara moved here because, like the gentleman, she saw the art and things. But definitely this time, people gave it up. This is a mortuary. So she knew it. And she moved in. Very, very spacious, as you can see. Imagine artwork hung in here. She loved it. She was very proud of her gallery, and she was doing well. Now, things happened with her, but not as bad. I think because she was aware. She drove one night and parked where that car is. Wanted to take a picture of her place and post it. So she took the picture. And upon going home to post it, that's where you got to go to her site, because she gave Renee this picture before she moved away. In this picture, right where she's leaning, with her elbow there, to your left and to my right, there appears to be something. The face not be made out. This can be the position and how. There's something looking back at her. I have looked at these pictures. I was so compelled. I'm so compelled about that. There's some history to this building that Barbara was later told that the Mitchell family, they lived up there in a wooden house. See, there's a house up there. There's a lot of towns, even in Tucson where I live. There in south side of Tucson, people lived on top of their businesses. So did they. It was made of wood. It had nothing to do with the 1908 fire. This happened in the 30s. Yes, their house tragically burned down. And inside, unfortunately, was their room. She was about 3 to 4 years old. Maybe that could be that image. She had her time here. She loved Bisbee. She didn't move on because of that picture. She was intrigued by it. She didn't really cater to it as much, but like I said, maybe something was trying to communicate with her because her shop was okay, but she moved on. And then came Aviva. Aviva's artwork is still around town, so look for a lovely signature on paintings that say Aviva. And she became very good friends with Renee, and Renee took it upon herself, after learning more of this building, definitely telling her what Barbara experienced, things like that. Aviva loved her space just like Barbara did. Stuff wasn't really going out of array, but she felt a little odd sometimes. Once told about that little girl though, she experimented and bought toys and a ball. She just wanted to try something. She's a spiritual woman. So she placed these objects in a certain part of her store or her gallery. When she came in the next day, toys weren't messed with, but the ball was in the middle of the room. Repeat. Next day, put it back. It's on the counter. Repeat, repeat, repeat again. That ball was never in the same place. Her gallery was untouched. Downstairs, she felt calm. She was at peace. Coexist, I think. She moved on years later. She loved her Bisbee. That's why she left art behind. Then came this wonderful woman who was gone fishing with her hubby. She's awesome. She's a fromagier. I used to be in charcuterie, French stuff, or fancy cuisine, but cheese is her thing. Pairing it up with local jams and the whole lot. And yes, she became friends with Renee and her husband, and Renee definitely felt compelled to let her know. With that, she joined in too, but she bought 2 balls. And every day, and ever since she has been here, this happened to her shop, all that wine said, that's a lot of wine. Hate for her to come crash bar. Yes, the ball is never in the same place. Every time I do these tours, and sometimes I've done tours twice in the evening, that ball's never in the same place. Now, again, you have to take this, and I love pointing this out because she is gone fishing. So she's not coming in the store to put that ball anywhere. Please take a look. On up in there. See if you're scared with 1 or 2 people. Everyone that has told me their high school tell me they have not only got running up out there, but something forcefully pushed them. Let's go this way.
Go. Jeez, bumps. Stop calling his name. Let him go.
This last step is a doozy, literally. So be careful, please. We're starting to go roughly.
Watch your steps. Thank you. See? Come on, let's go. That's cool, huh?
Pit stop. We gotta talk about angels. Local artist did these as well. His name is Ben Dale. I've met him and Sam. They're cool people. They're quite the eclectics.
What's eclectic?
Ben arrived here, I think sometime in the 90s, and he was commissioned to do angels here and some other places. His first installments, actually. These angels were small, happy looking, like Michelangelo angels, little baby ones with wings. Upon his completion, 9/11 happened tragically. Ben was touched. Maybe he had family there, I don't know. But with that, he approached the people here and said, can I please do the angels different? Twice the size and with more of a meaning to the tragedy. And they agreed. He did this very quickly in a short time and came up with these angels, the one ascending with those who lost their lives. You see the expression is very serious. And this one here with more of a kinder one remaining with those who survived the tragedy. Energy, not just Bisbee ghosts. I've researched myself. tragedies like New Orleans, other things. I'm sure even this Miami one that is very sad. Art will be done surrounding that. Sculptures, things to remember. The energy seems to trap itself to it. Heck, the Mona Lisa is even haunted. Real stuff, y'all. Lots of things happen in the Smithsonian at night and day. The statues in the Smithsonian have a history of not being in the same position sometimes. The same with Ben Dale's. The expressions, people have taken pictures, the expressions alter, or the faces will not come in focus, or the wings seem to flutter. Things like that. Why? Because it was a tragic moment, right? So I'm definitely sure those people, you know, someone on my tour just 3 nights ago took a picture. And out of the Oliver House, there's been wonderful energy on that balcony. We will be talking about the Oliver House because that's our focus. But right here, this beautiful one, this modern one, what the heck was somebody doing looking at us down there at the window pane one down there? I mean, literally. He took a picture and went Indian, and everyone in the group took a step back. Because, yeah, there was a face pressed up looking back at it. It's okay. I have no idea what happened in that house. It's new. So whatever, but the foundation isn't new. So it's no telling. I need to research. But the Oliver House, right up there, is owned by my friend Trish. She does bed and breakfast style. Beautiful establishment. But also it's had 26 known deaths inside it. Known. Renee covers most of them. She covers at least 13 deaths in that house in her book.
Are we going there? Are we going up there?
No.
She's very private and there's people staying in there. This man going to be named by its house. But before I talk about it, there's a high school back there, and I got to speed it up a little bit because the group is trying to catch up with us. I guess he's going to can't do that. So, the high school, yeah, it's historically correct because it's in the Guinness Book of World Records. Anybody know why?
A lot of deaths?
Huh? Yeah, you're pretty awesome. No. You floss your lies, but no. It's city uses it. High school now is in but it's in the Guinness Book of World Records, and I love a gentleman in my group last night because he's from Bisbee. And he called me out. I was like, come on, man. But it has a street interest level to each. To a hill. We're built into a valley. They didn't dynamite for this. They built into it. So the San Francisco style hill on the other side is what you encounter. And one of them is handicapped, but yes, there's interest level right there. So it's in the Guinness Book. Are you kidding me? Yeah, man. We should be going that fast. Because I don't want to speed through.
Yeah, that guy's like.
Okay. With that.
How many?
26.
Death.
I can't tell you about all 26. I can tell you at least about a few. What do you think is the most unluckiest room there? You're awesome. There was a group who said that. There was a girl about their age who said the basement. Bathroom, yes. Anyone seen The Shining? Heck yeah. I still have a phobia of things behind a shower curtain. All of that. So that's a good guess, but no, it deals with a number, and that would be number 32. February 22nd, 1920, Nat Anderson was occupying that room there. Liz Oliver went into investors, businessmen, short-term, long stay, all that good stuff. Oh. Yeah, he was probably here for that. His death certificate is on our website. The reason why. This is why. He got a knock on his door one late afternoon. When he got that knock, you thought maybe it would have been greeted with friendship. That, you know, it's good to see. Let's talk business. Or he didn't get that. Instead, he got involved. Blank range right between his eyes, trigger pulled, and Nat dropped dead on sight. He was shipped back to Missouri. I read Renee's book to find that out. Mystery unsolved. That's why his death certificate is on our site. No one was caught. No one was caught coming down the stairs because the 13th room was on the 2nd floor. No one was heard getting on a horse. No one was seen. That's about y'all. No one was seen leaving the scene. I can tell you the story as well.
I think I saw that. Was it Megan that was that telling you?
Oh my gosh, did you just take that?
Just took that.
That's very good. Please send it in to Renee.
Okay,
We
just
just took
stop.
that. No joke. No joke. Remember when he said there was a face pressed in there? We just took
Hey,
it.
let me put that on camera.
Okay.
Wow.
We were like, you see that? Yeah.
Please take pictures of that home.
Oh,
We will send that in to you guys. Look at that.
Now upon that, when the mystery is unsolved, then it's a closed case file. Since it's a closed case, come on y'all, please, I'm sorry. It's just because the other group is here. I just want to coincide, you know, like coexist.
I'm just want to put in the car.
A cold case file means just that. Cochise County does not.
what's going on?
I don't know, closed case is too fast. The other group is here. That's a clash. If I'm talking with him, it wouldn't work that way. We're not supposed to speed up that much. We're also supposed to be a team in the booth.
Is he new?
It's just a little new. So, y'all want to hear about him? You want to hear about what happened in that room?
Yeah.
Okay. With that being said, yeah, mystery was never solved, but I don't think his spirit left the realm at all. There was a couple who took our tour, and they were so intrigued, they came back, and yes, they rented room 13 right away.
Wow.
When they rented the room, they wanted to stay up and watch and see anything moving out of the ordinary. So the wife took a picture in the mirror, and she got a reflection. In that reflection, similar like your picture, yeah, there was an image, but the image was of a man leaning to the side in the window looking and peering in. The man had a peering style mustache. He also had heart in his hair. Looking like me, sucking out the dreadlocks. Blank stare. And leaning, arms to his side. Usually if you lean in the window, you're trying to lean on the windowsill, right? Let's just say, I don't know if you noticed the structure, but there's no ladders on the side of it. There's no fire escape, there's only a balcony in the front. 13th room is on the 2nd floor. How was he looking through that window? That's what scared that couple up. Now get that room again. But definitely give Renee a picture. Yeah, for sure. In the 1930s, a local police officer came up here with his gun. Why did he go to the Oliver house with his gun? Because he heard his wife was cheating on him with her lover there. He kicked in the door. He kicked in their door. Shot her, her lover, 11 people in the house, and then himself. That's why Ghost Hunters registered the Oliver house, and give me that please, as being one of the most haunted spaces, thank you, in this region. High School, I gotta tell you about. Central High School had elementary to middle school. Alarm bells were in effect. Not just fire alarm bells. These bells consisted of Apache release, Apache territory, Central School, not too far from the high school. The high school, were handed rifles not these one. Oh, yeah. Please watch yourself. Why am I giggling? Because when the Apache Rebel was signed off, her age and his were told to run to the nearest mine. Yes, unmonitored. And then the teachers had to go gather them back. Hundreds of miles of mines, y'all. All right, hundreds. Almost stretching the Benson. But those kids didn't get that far, hopefully. But can you imagine that? Long times and different kind of rules. Maybe primitive, but that's what they did because the Apaches were still very upset. And Geronimo had a vendetta. Also, the gentleman on my tour last night went to this school. Oh, this parade.
Nico, look where you walking, okay?
Can't wait to cut on my bed in the car.
Broadway. Broadway. Indeed, this is another historical street. And the most commonly used one during the time, cobble brick. For this. Also, an historian told me on my tour as I was making fun of horses coming up this wonderful street at this time, that it's beveled some of horses' hoofs and catch. Helping bringing all those goods up here. This was an alley of Does it look very broad to you? Yeah, it's not very broad at all. That's the original wood cut. Going all the way down to this location. Yeah, Broadway Street. Please don't Google map it. It will come up. And it's not broad. Not broad. Yeah, so it's concreted over now. But it was concreted back in the 30s. By this organization, WPA. Anybody know what it stands for? Work Progress Association. Roosevelt, during the Depression, he signed off on something to help laborers in cities. Not everyone here was mining. Several laborers. He had a 24-hour trolley service, so that needed to be maintained. Lots of things. During that era and war era, he sent money to several cities. Now I've seen it when I travel. I just saw it in Mexico not too long ago. With this, they were laying a lot of concrete, building schools, a lot of things. A little history there. Hey.
How you doing?
That now.
That's Japanese whiskey.
We're having a Japanese whiskey party.
Ma? Go. Tino, come on. She's coming.
No charge. No charge.
Good.
Too bad you guys missed the shot. Just
Alright, I was like, when I did that. I'm gonna do this
all right, brother. Now, I have no idea what's going on. Wonderful park, is it not? Yes, it is. Indeed. Take a step over here. I don't want my speedy friend to catch up to us, so I'll keep it moseying and to let you know about this wonderful area. I was interrupting just a little bit. I don't know. She wants to be her show that she's done maybe 20-something years ago. But other than that, hi! Isn't it cool here? Look at that. Those gates are pretty much a egg giveaway. Pun intended. Look at this beautiful park. Wonderful park. That mural has a very devastating history of lawlessness dealing with Dodge Phelps. Bisbee 18, June 18th. Please Google it. Because it was a horrible thing they did to 1,000 miners and displaced them very, very illegally. And a lot of people lost their lives. That looks like a cemetery, does it not? We had over 20-something thousand people in Populous. Children were losing their lives, unfortunately. I just told you about a serial killer during that time. Also, yeah, children were preyed upon back then. Very unfortunate. So were ladies of the night. Black Brothel, historically down the way here because it was Brothel Road. Yes, it got burned down, and that was not the best intentions, definitely racially motivated. Mexican miners were not the best treated. Chinese were not allowed after 10 at night, except for the ladies of the night. And there's a bridge. And yes, we're standing on some of the former ones, because this is former Bisbee Cemetery. During the time of overcrowding, like Cheeseman Park was shortly definitely during the time of monsoon, there was a lot of mixing and a lot of not caring. The prominent families got cared for, and the ones with headstones. There were a lot of John Does and Jane Does. There was a lot of not cared about. That being said, this is definitely a haunted area. Again, that gate. Just a little bit. When I first came to this park, I could not take my attention off that when I was doing the ghost tour. That's one of y'all. I said, sure enough, yeah. The bodies got moved over to Evergreen Cemetery, which is across the way, the Lavender Pit in Lowell. Summer. Story of two locals here. Mother, no, not a mother. Father and daughter. The daughter's now in her 20s. I've met her as soon as I was when she came here to play with Dad one late afternoon. They were over there on the playground having a good time. Dad had taken her. She was about 6 or 7. So when she played, not too far off his sight, but she did, right there upstairs. So she goes over there, starts playing, and he notices his daughter doing this stuff. See? No, we're not supposed to. So we asked her, hey, baby girl, what you doing? Dad, I ain't Dad, they're scared of you. Where did they go? They hid in the stairs, Dad. Me, I would have left. It's time to go. Baby girl, I don't know about that, but going to Mama. That's me being a little spoiled. I can be sometimes special. But he stayed. They played a little bit. We'll get to the other stories about how you can't see. You can see. Because I had that. I'm sure they came back here. I'm sure. Because there's certain this place is spooked. You'll turn around and of course he's disappeared. Or she'll simply walk by you and out of sight, but usually smiling, touching her hair, and making you feel calm. Well, there's 3 more locals. These guys were best friends growing up, and they're now grown men here in Bisbee. Ow, I'm bright. With that being said, I will now guide you by this okay. They were at the Lyric Theater, and it was during monsoon season. After the show that they definitely liked because the Lyric Theater stepped up in time and they used to show movies in there. They were coming from the show, running hastily, going up this alley, so they thought, to make it to home. Their homes down the way. And they were greeted with this. Her pushing. No smile. No beautiful lady that day. Her eyes were open wide, her mouth shut, and she was pushing towards them viciously. They were scared to death. They ran around that corner as fast as they could back to the Lyric Theater, crying, telling them what they had seen. Within a few seconds, this entire wall collapsed. Here's the proof. That's a mighty old staple, isn't it? It collapsed within a few seconds, and that wonderful, beautiful lady was hideous during that time. It seemed to push those boys back around that corner. The entire wall collapsed. Here would have been a plaque, too, with their names. But instead, they weren't dug out from no rubble. They were at the Lyric, safe, until the storm went away. Ghosts don't mean you harm. Please remember that. Most of the time, it's the presence felt. We get scared because our senses are no longer in that time. I mean, heck, even if you're Christian and things, it was another time. Joshua came back to life. That would probably scare a lot of people. Now we're scared of things like that. Isn't that beautiful? To a degree. I don't think those boys tell the story because it's a scary one. Maybe they come back here and remember exactly what saved their life. That beautiful lady. Let's go this way. Please be careful. After it caught fire in 1916, in the 40s it was 2-bedroom apartments. In the 60s, Peace Corps had it, but it's always been, at least by the city, telling the people and the owners of it to do this sort of correct. It's registered. So in the 80s, Bisbee again took it back over, but it is still known as the hotel. Yes, it is haunted, but not just by 2 ladies.
Tina.
Not just by 2 lady ghosts. How about 4 lady?
What happened to them?
Huh?
What happened to
You
them?
gotta let me tell you. Because let me tell you that. So, next door, she owned the saloon. Yeah. Very prominent lady of her time. Really cool though. She rented to miners, cowboys, ladies of the night, so she was different. Now running this saloon, I'm sure she knew a lot of people in town. She was superstitious. She did not want the cat named her. This cat was yeah, until the cat snuck in. And when it snuck in, it went down to the cellar, of course, and he got locked in, accidentally. Poor kid. He passed away. Probably buried him outside somewhere. But the spirit, that spirit, 9 lives is how the kid is at. That was a long time. Someone was so compelled by my tour about and they wanted to look for him in here. The reason why is because it's where the stairs are over here. While I'm doing so, they look over the balcony, going right past, let the stairs go over here, similar to this one, the stairs go down. He's on the stairs. You gotta go as well. See, when A doesn't post anything, over here, in the garage, you can't look through the gap. You're looking at the solid gap. As soon as they remove their camera, of course it was there long enough for them to take a picture. Now, he doesn't show himself all the time. He's going to be running around through here. And he'll leave on the bed just like this, you for him, or anything, you know. But he'll lay down. But you don't see. Definitely for him that they stayed all night because rubbing your neck. But of course, there's no kitty there, and they're trying to go back to sleep and repeat. What's attention? Maybe they just should act like they were petty. Kitties. This one, loves all the rooms, everyone room. They want the attention. So he said, what it said in 11, there's the presence of our lady and have a love school for the story. I'm reading another man's thoughts for general or something. Well, I don't know too well. But if you lay that room, Room 15 is known not to let your things stay up on the shelves. Of course, your toiletries, meaning that don't like your smell, doesn't want you stuck in there. You can be in there. That's just the way it goes. So as we walk through here, let's be respectful of some of the residences. We're not allowed upstairs. Want to know why? Because there was a ghost tour with adults. They took it upon themselves as soon as someone opened the door to run in here and knock on every door going, where are the ghosts at? So you can imagine people staying here didn't like that. So now we're fine downstairs. Upstairs, the quarters have bathroom and shower in them. This is old style, so she rented cheaper rooms downstairs. Hostel style. These rooms were going to pass with a shower, the bathrooms now. So allow you to cook your own meals. Clean up after yourself. I have stayed here. In one of the rooms I stayed in, definitely had a haunted evening. Those can be interesting and fun as well. Not always scary. If I'm correct, these are some of the seats from the Lyric Theater. Cool.
Watch your step. Watch your step.
Enough here. I stayed here even though I live in town when I was so
This is the one that's
got my place last year and stuff. I stay here.
the one behind you.
I know I'm gonna stay in the hotel, the Bates Hotel. I've seen it. I've actually seen it, the Chinese Hotel. The Labyrinth is gone. But during the day it's very creepy. But it's a beautiful, beautiful building. You're intrigued. You know, energy is intrigued in buildings like this. That's why they come back. 16 known ghosts are here. Ghost hunters found them all, most of them without being told. That's what ghost hunters do, the show that is. And they came here and distinctively learned about 3 popular ones. The Smoking Man, Billy, and Miss Julia Lowell. And I gotta let you know the history of the joint first. 1902 to 1903 is the deliberateness of this coming into place, taken over from the Grand Hotel and several other areas. And yeah, Dodge Phelps put the money in and Copper Queen Line built it. They are owned by Bisbee. Yes, Judge Will Bisbee owned both of them. So it's the same with her. You know, you got all this wood, not from here. The Italian motif downstairs, hand laid. Beautiful, immaculate. You got John Wayne Suite right there. Yeah, he stayed here. We'll talk about it in a minute. That's a barbecue. This man, no, I'm not gonna give up so easy. Yeah, let's see how good you are. 21 Jump Street, Nightmare on Elm Street, Edward Scissorhands, Benny and June. Who said it? I'm a deputy, y'all, literally. Okay? Eddie Murphy and all of it. I used to work in 2 record stores. My wife, my ex-wife, she couldn't stand it. I had DVD collection. I had over some kung fu movies, and I had every Richard Pryor, all of them with Depp. Had him, Robert Downey Jr. When I'm into you, I'm into you. Even after that, he got 86 from here. I don't even want. I heard they had to pick him up and physically remove him. And that's a party, okay? Okay. That's something else.
I need to talk.
Oh, well, I gotta let you know, Brother John Wayne, yes, I gotta talk about you, Bill. All right, dude. Him and Lee Marvin were best friends. Said one time they were filming a movie here in town. Somehow Lee Marvin ended up doing soon in the window. Yeah, John. And they still had to drink afterwards. Maybe they were practicing stunts. Who knows? All right. Brother Wayne. 3. The Smoking Man. He's known to have a black hat like me, top down. Nice over black coat, standing dignified and puffing a cigar. His presence is on the 3rd and 4th floor. I'm staying on the 3rd floor. His presence came to me in cigar form. You're not supposed to smoke in the building. So I did this heavy pungent cigar, this lean right outside my door. You take some steps down, it ain't there. I went outside, get some air, just enjoying Bisbee. I came back, it was still there. I think you knew I was going to do this work. You don't see him, you stone. 3rd floor, he's been known to linger in the hallways but not going in the rooms. It was said he was a bookkeeper and there was a suite up there. There is a big suite, and that's probably where his office was. When you see him, he's often looking very dignified and observant, like he's still working. Maybe that's how he wants to spend his days. He ain't here doing that. 4th floor holds him because that's where the smoking balcony was. Now this elevator was added sometime later, and so was the entire other story where they made this room. What's he doing around the elevator? Maybe he likes it now, because his smell is definitely in it. That's the smoking man. He's cool. I'm gonna tell you about Billy though. I can't get enough of this here. Yeah, Billy. Billy is very popular. He made himself known to the ghost hunters out any of the owners telling the ghost hunters who he was. He's very proud of his youth. It's just unfortunate that he lost his life young. It said that Billy's mom worked here, but sadly Billy lost his life in the San Pedro River. That's why he's not on the water. He attracted himself here because his mother still worked here through the end of her days. Now, I don't know if her spirit's around, but his remains here. They've given Billy a suite. He didn't stay in that room. He runs the whole gamut. And since I work here now, there's plenty of people, especially in the kitchen, that go, Billy is with us every morning. I said, that's all right. He's not fond of water. Again, he lost his life in water. You leave the mop bucket running too long, sometimes maybe it'll get turned off. You'll hear that faint cry in the corner somewhere. Bathtubs. Couples will fill in their tub, they'll turn around and see faint, wet footsteps running away from it again. Faint cry. But he is a playful spirit. He loves to play. He loves to play with kids his own age, out their age. It said that Billy was about 4 to 5, 6 years old. And again, we can't see him, at least the adults. You can. Every little girl in the park. That would be the way Billy plays. Like when a couple was downstairs one evening visiting, going to have dinner with their daughter. I'm a parent, so of course sometimes you gotta get you a little things to eat. Come on, y'all, eat your food, and play. She was playing. Here's what she was doing. Looking under the tablecloth. Peekaboo. Parents, honey, it's time for you to eat your dinner. Mom, Dad, I'm playing peekaboo with Billy. Mom and Dad, look under the table. Of course they don't see Billy. And the little girl can. Oh, and how does she know his name? Yeah, that's right. Billy told her. Little ones, me, my grandma Katie, my dad's mom down south. Never forget her spitting in that spit tune. She was lean. She controlled the farm to lean every day. And mom always sucking on her. Come here. She'd be like, oh, that's your great so-and-so, baby. It's okay. Oh, that's your great it's okay. Because I would see them. It's okay. And our eyes can't train for that. Then there's another time Billy wanted to play. Speeding time right up to station wagons and Zenith television. You never know what that is. He's going to be like, what's he talking about? Yeah, good old Gilligan's Island, Dukes of Hazzard, with the knob and the antenna on the TV. Now we're in the era of television. A lot of kids do not want to play. They want to watch cartoons. Mom let me do it, but she definitely did go outside and play. Okay? As soon as they check in, Billy is excited. He's got 3 kids to play that are his age. As soon as they check in, they're watching TV. Billy, he wants to play. Not to mention that Billy messes with stuff. Likes to knock things over, pull on past things. So he was doing all of that. Moving stuff. They're barely paying attention. Parents, they're doing their thing. So Billy starts messing with the volume. And not bothered about that. It's a hotel, low TV, right? Until Billy goes and turns the TV off. Bother them. Old hotel. Just turn it down. Oh, Billy's frustrated now. So he unplugs the TV altogether. That might scare you. I know it would scare me. It's probably why the family up and changed rooms. You can read about that in the guest ledgers, by the way. Those guest ledgers are for a reason. They're for you to write in, and also to read. Yeah. You know? Oh yeah. They changed rooms. But Billy, he wasn't trying to be scary. He was throwing a tantrum. He's a kid. He likes to play. You leave candy out for Billy, wrapped. It is said that he will eat said candy, at least 1 or 2 pieces, and leave the wrap. Many guests have that account down there in those ledgers, and ghost hunters tested it up here, down there, throughout. Billy probably had a stomach ache, because he definitely ain't him. You leave little toy cars out and stuff like that. We'll go across the room. That's Billy. Now I gotta tell you about Ms. Lowe. Ms. Lowe is not a superstar, but in her own right she is. Cute little Lowe has a sweet 315. Why does she have that sweet? Because she was a lady of the night. Well, not just a lady of the night, then there'd be a whole bunch of sweets with names. But her dad worked here. He was a concierge at the front desk. Maybe he didn't approve of Julia's line of work, but he gave her that room for her to be safe. Lawless times out there. He loved his daughter. So she did her work. She did it in her elegance and quaint. She was very popular for her beauty. She fell in love, just like any normal human being would. But the ladies of the day and ladies of the night then fell in love with married men. This married man was not going to step down from his wife or his position in society. So he stepped away from Julia. He denounced her love and her altogether, and she fell into a depressive state. Of course, she took her life right now. People want to stay in Nat's room, and don't y'all go, hey, people stay in Nat's room all the time, and people stay in Julia's room because it's beautiful. Couples love to stay in there, especially. Well, she's still fond of married men. She is known to turn up the heat a little bit just to make it uncomfortable for the wife. A lot of times couples are fast asleep. She will wait until they are very fast asleep and only wake up the husband, be it tickle in the neck or his feet some kind of way. Soon as the husband wakes up, she's in motion, doing the dance and the shimmy. To the surprise. Oh yeah, if you disturb your wife, she's gonna get up out of there and disappear. May make it a little uncomfortable for you in the night because stands on the edge of the stairwell in front of her wonderful abode, or former abode. And of course, this thing is smiling. Oh, something mighty fine to drink. And it looks like inviting you. Yeah. Still her place. Couple goes out, during the day shops, comes back in the evening. And as soon as they open the door to enjoy their hotel, they're hitting the
Halala sanbongela, halala sanbongela we. Halala sanbongela.